You're standing on that lot, keys to something German and shiny in your hand, and the sticker says half of what it costs new. Feels like a steal. It isn't always. Some of these cars crashed in value for a reason, and some crashed for no reason at all. Here's the truth I've learned, turning wrenches for over 30 years. The biggest price drop on the lot is either the smartest money you'll ever spend or the fastest way to bleed your bank account dry. There is no in between. And most buyers can't tell which is which until the tow truck shows up. So I ranked 10 models that lost their value the hardest, from the ones that'll ruin you to the one that's secretly the best used deal in America right now. That last one shocked me because it's a car that loses more than 70% of its price in 5 years and almost never breaks. I found it buried in the long-term reliability data nobody reads. Stay with me, because whether you're buying new, buying used, or already own one of these, where your car lands on this list changes everything. I set this ranking in my head years ago, standing over a luxury sedan with a $4,000 repair estimate, while the owner told me he'd only paid $9,000 for the whole car. That moment taught me the difference between a bargain and a bear trap. Let me walk you through all 10. Let's start at number 10, and it's one you've seen on every buy here, pay here lot in the country. The Chrysler 200, specifically the 2015 through 2017 models. On paper, it looks incredible. A mid-size sedan with decent styling that you can pick up now for $4,000 or $5,000, sometimes less. People see that price and think they've outsmarted the market. Here's what the price is hiding. That car came with a 9-speed automatic transmission, the ZF9 HP, and it was a nightmare from day one. I've had these come into my bay lurching, hunting for gears, slamming into second like somebody kicked the back bumper. The transmission software was never right, and when the unit itself fails, you're looking at $3,000 to $4,000 to replace it on a car worth barely more than that. Think about that math. The repair cost as much as the vehicle. The complaint databases lit up on this one. Owners reported hard shifting, sudden loss of power, and transmissions giving out well before 100,000 miles. Chrysler pushed software updates that helped a little and fixed nothing permanently. So the value crashed because word got out. And word got out because the thing genuinely couldn't hold together. Now here's the honest verdict, because I promised you honesty. As a $5,000 throwaway commuter that you drive gently and expect nothing from, it can limp along. But as a car you depend on to get to work every single day, no. The moment that transmission goes, you walk away and lose the whole car. That's not a bargain. That's a countdown timer. But the 200 is small money. The next one crashed harder and hurts a lot more people because they bought it thinking they were being smart about the future. Number 9 is the Nissan Leaf, and I want you to hear me out because this one's more complicated than the internet makes it. The early Leafs, roughly 2011 through 2015, depreciated harder than almost any car in modern history. Some of these sold for over $30,000 new and now trade hands for $5,000 or $6,000. That looks like the deal of a lifetime for a cheap electric commuter. The problem is the battery, and specifically how Nissan built it. Those early Leafs used an air-cooled battery pack with no active thermal management. Every other serious electric car cooled its battery with liquid. Nissan didn't. So in hot climates, Arizona, Texas, the southern half of this country, those packs degraded fast. I've seen 2012 Leafs that started with maybe 80 miles of range, now struggling to do 40 on a full charge. Here's the number that matters. Replacing that battery pack, if you can even source one, runs you well north of $8,000 and sometimes past $13,000 on a car worth $6,000. Nobody at the dealership mentioned that when they sold it new, and nobody mentions it now on the used lot either. So who profited from that silence? Hold that thought, because it's a pattern you're going to see repeat all the way up this list. The practical takeaway is simple. If you're looking at a used Leaf, check the battery capacity bars on the dash gauge, that little stack of segments next to the charge meter. If it's lost 3 or 4 bars, walk away. A healthy pack shows all 12. That 30-second check saves you thousands. Do it before you ever talk price. The Leaf is a cautionary tale about new technology depreciating into a trap. But therefore, we have to talk about the cars that were supposed to be prestige, the ones that crash not from bad tech, but from the sheer cost of keeping them alive. Number 8 is the Fiat 500, and this one hurts because people bought it with their hearts. It's adorable. It's Italian. It was cheap and cute, and it felt like personality on wheels. Fiat came back to America around 2012 with this thing, and buyers snapped them up. Now, they're some of the cheapest used cars you'll find anywhere, $3,000 to $4,000 all day long. The value crashed for two reasons I see constantly in the Bay. First, parts. Fiat pulled most of its dealer network out of the United States, so getting components for these can mean waiting weeks and paying import-level prices for a car that's supposed to be economy. Second, the little turbocharged engine in the Abarth and turbo models runs hot and hard, and I've seen turbo failures and oil consumption problems that cost more to fix than the car returns. A clutch job on the manual, and a lot of these were manuals, runs you well over $1,000 because of how the car's laid out. The dual clutch automatic in some of them was worse, jerky, and failure prone. So you've got a $3,000 car that can hand you a $2,000 repair, and you can't get the parts quickly. The verdict here is gentler than the Leaf. If you're mechanically handy, if you can wait on parts, and you just want a cheap city runabout with charm, it's forgivable. But for the average buyer who needs the car to just work, it's a heartbreak waiting to happen. And heartbreak is exactly where this list starts to get expensive, because now we cross into luxury, and this is where I need to name what's really going on. For the last 3 positions, we've been dancing around it, so let me say it plain. The reason these cars crash in value isn't bad luck. It's a business model. Luxury automakers and their dealers make their real money on the first owner and on the service department. They price these cars to feel exclusive when new, and they build them so complex that keeping one running past the warranty costs a fortune. When that first owner dumps it, the price collapses, and the next buyer inherits a machine designed to be serviced at $70, $80, $90 an hour by specialists. The depreciation isn't a flaw in the system. It is the system, and you're about to see exactly how brutal it gets. Number 7 is the Cadillac ATS and CTS from roughly 2013 through 2019. Beautiful cars. They drove like they meant it, real competitors to the German sports sedans, and Cadillac wanted badly to be taken seriously. New, these ran $40,000, $50,000, even $60,000 loaded. Today, you'll find clean ones for $12,000 to $15,000 and high mileage examples for well under $10,000. Here's what I see in the shop. The 2-liter Turbo 4 in a lot of these has a timing chain and cam phaser appetite, and when those wear, you get rattling on cold start and eventually real engine trouble. The twin-turbo V6 in the higher trims is a thirsty, complicated beast where a turbo or a leak buried deep in the valley of the engine turns into a $2,000 labor bill before you've touched a single part. And the electronics, the CUE infotainment system, was glitchy junk that delaminated and stopped responding to touch. So the value crashed because the resale market knows these are expensive to own. A wealthy first buyer leased it, walked away after 3 years, and the depreciation ate someone else alive. The car itself isn't unreliable in the catastrophic sense. It's death by 1,000 moderate repairs, each one $400, $600, $800. My verdict: only buy one with full service records and a pre-purchase inspection focused on that timing chain. If it rattles on startup, run. That check alone separates a decent enthusiast car from a money pit. But a Cadillac's repair bills look like pocket change next to what comes next. Number 6 is the Jaguar XF and XJ from the late 2000s into the 2010s. These are gorgeous machines. Long, elegant, genuinely special to sit in. And they have fallen so far in value, it makes grown men gasp. A car that stickered over $80,000 now sells for $8 to $12. That is a 90% collapse. 90. I've watched people buy these dreaming they finally own a proper luxury car for the price of a used economy sedan. Then reality arrives. The supercharged and naturally aspirated V8s have timing chain tensioner issues that when they let go can destroy the engine. The air suspension sags and fails, and a single air strut can run you $1,000 or more per corner. The electronics are famously temperamental, and Jaguar parts carry that exotic tax where a simple sensor costs triple what it would on a Ford. Even though Ford owned Jaguar for part of that era, the reliability surveys have hammered Jaguar and Land Rover for years, consistently placing them at or near the bottom for dependability. That's not opinion. That's owners reporting problem after problem in the largest dependability studies conducted. The value crashed because the market is efficient about pain. Everyone knows. So here's my honest word. That $8,000 Jaguar will hand you an $8,000 year if the wrong things fail at once. I've written estimates on these that made the owners sell the car for scrap. Beautiful to look at, brutal to own, and we're not even to the worst offenders yet. Now, before I climb into the last handful, let me hand you the thing that turns all of this into a permanent skill instead of one video you half remember. Picture yourself back on that lot next weekend, standing in front of a shiny badge with a crashed out sticker, and this time the salesman is watching your face for the flicker of temptation he sells to. You don't give it to him. That calm only comes from one place: knowing before you ever shake a hand. That's the whole reason I put together the complete lemon-proof bundle. The Buy Right volume hands you the reliability matrix that separates the hype from the hard data, plus the exact engines and transmissions to avoid, listed by model year and family. So a 9-speed Chrysler box or an N63 BMW is flagged before you fall for the price. The deep reliability volume teaches you to read the NHTSA complaint data the way a safety engineer does, and to audit the technical service bulletins that catch a systemic failure early, and it decodes the engine family tree that shows why one bad platform poisons 12 different models. And here's the free proof. You can run tonight at your own kitchen table, pull up any model I ranked today, search its exact year with the words Technical Service Bulletin, and read what the manufacturer quietly told its own dealers breaks. If that reads like a secret only mechanics were supposed to have, that's exactly what the whole collection is built on. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And this matters right now for one plain reason. Your next car purchase is coming whether you're ready or not, and the repair bill on a wrong choice is already ticking before you sign. All right, with that in your back pocket, let me show you why the top of this list is where the real carnage lives. Number 5 is the BMW 7 Series, and specifically the ones running the N63 twin-turbo V8 from around 2010 onward. This was BMW's flagship, the car that was supposed to say you'd made it new. These ran $90,000, $100,000, $120,000, and now you can buy one for $10,000 to $15,000, sometimes single digits. The temptation is unreal. $100,000 car for the price of a used Corolla. But that N63 engine is one of the most notorious money pits ever built, and I don't say that lightly. BMW placed the turbos in the hot V of the engine, which cooks everything around them. These engines are famous for burning oil by design, for premature timing, chain wear, for failing valve stem seals that leave you laying down smoke like a mosquito truck, and for coolant leaks that cost a fortune to reach. BMW actually launched a customer care package quietly extending some coverage because the failures were so widespread. Let me give you the numbers that matter. A valve stem seal job on this engine, because of how buried it is, can run you $5,000 to $7,000 in labor alone. A timing chain job, similar territory. Replace the turbos and you're staring at numbers that exceed the entire value of the car. I've turned people away from these because I couldn't in good conscience take the job knowing what it would cost them. The value crashed because the first owner leased it, enjoyed the warranty years, and handed the ticking bomb to the resale market. My verdict is the hardest no on this list so far. That $15,000 7 Series is a lottery ticket where the prize is a $30,000 repair history. Unless you can do the work yourself and you love pain, stay away. And believe it or not, it gets worse from here. Number 4 is the Mercedes-Benz S-Class, the flagship, the 2013 through 2020 era especially. This is the car heads of state ride in New, comfortably over $100,000, often pushing 140. Used 5 or 6 years later, 30,000, 25, and the older ones dipping under 15. The depreciation on an S-Class is legendary. It is one of the fastest falling luxury cars in the entire market, and I understand the fantasy completely. For $20,000, you can sit in a car that cost 140 new with massaging seats and a ride like a cloud. But here's what that $20,000 really buys you. The air suspension system, they call it Airmatic, is a ticking clock. When it fails, and it will, you're looking at struts and a compressor and lines that add up to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. The complex electronics, dozens of control modules talking to each other, throw faults that take specialists hours just to diagnose. The V8 and V12 engines have their own expensive appetites for leaks and coils and injectors. The pattern is exactly what I warned you about. This car was priced and built to reward the manufacturer and the dealer on the front end and to cost a fortune on the back end. The depreciation is the price of admission to that back end. I've had S-Class owners come in for what they thought was a simple issue and leave with a bill that would have bought a decent used Camry outright. My verdict? An S-Class is only sane to own if you have a trusted, independent Mercedes specialist and a fat repair fund sitting in the bank. As a status symbol you can afford to buy but can't afford to fix, it's the most dangerous kind of bargain there is. But there are two vehicles that crash harder and hurt worse, and the next one is the king of the money pits. Number 3 is the Land Rover Range Rover, and this one I rank near the very top of the danger list because it combines everything bad about the cars below it into one package. A Range Rover sticker's new anywhere from $90,000 to over $150,000 depending on trim, and they collapse in value faster than almost anything on four wheels. You can find a 5 or 6 year old Range Rover for a quarter of what it costs new. $30,000 Range Rovers that were $130,000 new. It is stunning. Here's why the market runs screaming. Range Rover and Land Rover have sat at the bottom of major dependability rankings for years running. Not near the bottom. The bottom, the air suspension fails. The V8 engines, especially the supercharged ones, have had timing chain and coolant issues that get into the $10,000 repair range. The electronics are a horror show of intermittent gremlins that no one can fully chase down. I've had a Range Rover in my bay throw 4 unrelated warning lights in a single afternoon. Let me put a real number on it. It is entirely normal for a used Range Rover to cost its owner $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year in repairs every single year. I've seen air suspension jobs alone hit $4,000. I've seen a supercharger and cooling repair blow past $12,000. The reason these are so cheap used is that everyone who's owned one knows, and they're trying to escape before the next big failure. My verdict is as blunt as I can make it. That $30,000 Range Rover is not a luxury SUV. It is a subscription to a repair shop with a truck attached. The only people who should own one out of warranty are people who genuinely will not feel a $5,000 surprise. For everyone else, it's the fastest way to turn a bargain into a bankruptcy on this entire list. But it's still not number 2. Number 2, the second worst money trap of them all, is the Maserati Ghibli and Quattroporte from roughly 2014 onward. And this one earns its place because the value collapse is almost unbelievable, and the trap behind it is even worse than the Range Rover. A Maserati Ghibli stickered around $75,000 to over $100,000 new. Today you'll find them for $18,000, $15,000, even $12,000. That is a car that has lost 85% of its value, and it's still wearing that Trident badge that screams exotic. I cannot tell you how many people have looked at a $15,000 Maserati and thought they'd crack some secret code. Then they find out what I know. These cars are mechanically related to Chrysler products underneath in some systems, yet they carry full exotic pricing on parts and labor. A routine service can run you $800 to $1,500. The engines, built with Ferrari involvement, are genuinely expensive when they need real work. Timing components, turbos, and electronics failures all show up, and every one of them costs exotic money. Here's the killer. These cars are so unwanted on the used market that when something major breaks, The repair often exceeds the entire value of the car, so people simply abandon them. There are Maseratis sitting at independent shops right now that owners walked away from rather than pay a repair bill higher than the car's worth. Depreciation. This violent is the market telling you the truth in the loudest voice it has. My verdict on number 2 is simple. That cheap Maserati is the single most seductive trap on this list because the badge makes people ignore every warning sign. It looks like you're buying a $100,000 car for $15,000. You're actually buying a $15,000 down payment on a lifetime of exotic repair bills. Everything about it is designed to look like a win and function like a loss. So that's 9 of them, from the throwaway Chrysler to the exotic Maserati trap. And every single one of them followed the same rule. They crashed in value because they cost too much to keep alive, and someone profited from that on the way down. You'd think the number 1 spot would just be the most expensive money pit of all. It isn't. And this is the part I've been holding back the whole way, because it flips everything you just heard on its head. Number 1, the model that crashed in value the hardest and is secretly the best used deal in America right now is the Lexus LS460. And I know exactly how that sounds after everything I just told you about luxury depreciation. But stay with me, because this is the exception that proves the whole rule. The Lexus LS460, built from around 2007 through 2016, was Toyota's full-size flagship. It's stickered new anywhere from $70,000 to over $80,000. And today, because it's a big luxury sedan, it depreciates exactly like the German cars do. You can buy a clean LS460 for $12,000 to $18,000 and higher mileage ones for under $10,000. On the lot, sitting next to that BMW 7 Series and that Mercedes S-Class, it looks like the same kind of trap. It is the exact opposite. Here's what the long-term reliability data shows, the stuff buried in the high-mileage dependability studies that mainstream car media skips right over because it doesn't make a flashy headline. The LS460 runs the 1UR FSE V8, and it is one of the most bulletproof luxury engines ever built. These cars routinely cross 200,000, 300,000 miles on basic maintenance. I have personally seen LS460s with over 250,000 miles running as smooth and silent as the day they left the factory. The transmission is a Toyota unit that just does not quit. The electronics, the interior, all of it built to a standard the German flagships couldn't touch. Let me give you the numbers that make this the champion. Where that BMW 7 Series hands you a $7,000 valve seal job and that Range Rover eats $5,000 a year, the LS460 asks you for oil changes, fluids, brakes, and the occasional suspension bushing. Owners in the high mileage forums report going years with nothing but routine maintenance. The dependability surveys that put Land Rover and Jaguar at the rock bottom put Lexus at the very top year after year after year. Same body style, same luxury, same steep depreciation, completely opposite ownership experience. So think about what that means for your wallet. You get 85% of the luxury of an S-Class. You get a car that cost $80,000 new for $15,000 or less. And instead of a subscription to a repair shop, you get a machine that will very likely outlast the payment you never had to make. The depreciation that destroys the German and British cars is a pure gift on the Lexus because the car underneath actually lasts. Here's how the truth got buried. The market can't tell the difference from the outside. Big luxury sedan, steep depreciation, so buyers lump the Lexus in with the money pits and stay away, which pushes the price down even further. The people who know, the mechanics and the high mileage owners, they've been quietly buying these for years. The dependability studies preserved the truth in plain data, but nobody put it next to the price tag and said the obvious thing out loud. So I'm saying it now. The LS460 is the single best crash value luxury car you can buy today, and it's number 1 for a reason. Check for full service records. Look for one with a documented water pump and suspension refresh already done, and buy the cleanest example you can find. Then drive it for a decade. So here's what you walked away with today. The biggest price drop on the lot is a loaded gun. And now you know which ones are pointed at you and which one is the safest luxury mile you'll ever buy. That's the difference between the driver who gets burned and the driver who quietly wins. You're not the kind of buyer who falls for a badge or a sticker with a line through it. You want the real order of things, the mechanic's order, not the salesman's. And now you've got it, which means you already know what you're walking past on that lot this weekend and what you're walking toward. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you actually buy that Lexus LS460 over a $15,000 Mercedes S-Class? Or do you think I've got the Cadillac ATS ranked too low? Tell me in the comments. And tell me what you're driving right now and where in the country you're watching from, because I read these. And the climate you live in changes everything about that battery and that air suspension. Drop it down there. If you're the kind of driver who refuses to get burned by a dealer or a body shop ever again, you belong here with the rest of us who check the dipstick before we sign anything. Take a look at the car care guide I've put together so you can protect whatever you drive, because knowing what to check is half the battle. And next time I'm ranking the pickup trucks that secretly cost the most to keep on the road, including one full size everybody swears by that's quietly draining owners dry. You won't want to miss where your truck lands. Hey, let me stop you right here. This is only the overview. Inside the Garage Bench Club, I keep going with the full buyer's playbook. And if you've got a car you're eyeing, you ask me directly, and I answer you myself. No robot. Folks like you are already in there with me. Just point your phone camera at the code on your screen, and you can cancel anytime. No risk. Now, if trucks are more your style, I've got something you'll want to see next. I'll show you 12 pickups that dropped hard in value so you could grab real strength for far less. It's starting right here